Pixel art. Just two words, but it instantly brings to mind hundreds of games. Celeste, Crosscode, Animal Well, Sea of Stars, Stardew Valley, Undertale, Chrono Trigger, Shovel Knight, Terraria, Pokemon, Hyperlight Drifter, FTL, Katana Zero, Balatro, Into the Breach, and so on. It's one of the most recognizable art styles in gaming, and somehow it's still thriving in the era of 4K textures and hyper-realistic physics simulations. So what is it about these little colored squares that keeps players and developers coming back for more? Welcome back to my game design channel. I'm Nick Latreille, and today we're talking about pixel art. To understand why pixel art is so popular today, we've got to go back, way back to when graphics were, well, let's say primitive. Back in the 1970s and 80s, hardware limitations meant that developers had to get creative. Games like Space Invaders and Pac-Man didn't use pixel art because it was trendy. They used it because it was all they had. At the time, there just wasn't enough processing power for detailed, realistic images. Developers worked with what was basically a digital grid, lining up each cell or pixel to make something recognizable. These limitations birthed pixel art as we know it, and developers had to squeeze every ounce of meaning out of each pixel. This creative restraint is a huge reason why pixel art has such a distinct look. It's all about maximizing impact with minimal detail. Fast forward to today, and pixel art has transcended its origins. It's a style now and not a necessity. It's kind of like how people listen to vinyl records. Not because it's the best technology, but because there's something special about it. Pixel art carries that same nostalgic charm. Think about it. Pixel art reminds players of those classic games from their childhoods. And let's be real, nostalgia is powerful. It's why Stranger Things has 80s references in every frame. For many players, pixel art hits that same sweet spot. And indie developers know this. They understand that pixel art can instantly connect players to an era of gaming that feels pure, simpler, even comforting. But wait, pixel art isn't just about nostalgia. If it was, it wouldn't have the staying power that it does. Today, we're seeing pixel art evolve in stunning ways thanks to modern technologies. Take Sea of Stars, for instance. This isn't your typical throwback RPG, it's a vibrant, living world filled with dynamic lighting, fluid animations, and spell effects that bring every pixel to life. Sea of Stars shows us how much can be done with pixel art today. The game has the charm of retro RPGs, but it doesn't rely on nostalgia alone. The visuals are carefully crafted, combining pixelated landscapes with gorgeous lighting effects, complex shadows, and smooth animations. These modern touches add layers of immersion, creating a world that's both familiar and fresh. So why do so many indie developers choose pixel art over, let's say, realistic 3D graphics? Well, there are a few reasons, and spoiler alert, it's not just about the aesthetics. First, pixel art is accessible. Let's face it, 3D modeling and realistic textures require big budgets, big teams, and tons of time. For a small indie studio, pixel art is a practical choice. It allows them to focus on the gameplay and story without needing an army of artists and animators. It's not easy, but it's achievable on a small budget. Second, pixel art lets developers control how players see their worlds. When you're working with fewer pixels, every single one counts. Developers can guide the player's attention to exactly where it needs to be, stripping down unnecessary detail and creating a more stylized, readable world. And there's another, perhaps obvious reason. In a world where AAA developers are pushing for hyper-realism, pixel art actually kind of stands out. There's a certain charm, a sort of magic to a pixelated landscape that you just don't get with ultra-realistic graphics. Pixel art feels handcrafted, like every square was placed with care. It feels intentional. Plus, pixel art isn't bound by the same rules as realism. Undertale can have quirky, expression-filled sprites without worrying about facial animations or rigging. This flexibility gives developers room to get creative, designing characters and worlds that look and feel unique rather than bound by the expectations of realism. Let's look at some modern indie games that use pixel art to their advantage. First up, Stardew Valley. With its cozy, inviting world, Stardew Valley uses pixel art to create a sense of warmth and simplicity. A hyper-realistic farming simulator might look impressive, but would it have the same charm? Doubtful. Or take Dead Cells. This is a fast-paced roguelite action game, and its pixel art style actually aids the gameplay. Everything is clear and readable, and the stylized look helps the game avoid becoming visually overwhelming. And then there's Katana Zero, which uses a gritty, noir-inspired pixel art style. Here, the art isn't just aesthetic, it's atmospheric. It matches the tone of the story, creating an experience that feels cohesive and deliberate. So why is pixel art so popular in indie games? Well, it's versatile, it's affordable, it's nostalgic, and it lets developers create a style that's honestly kinda timeless. Pixel art allows small teams to make big games without breaking the bank, and it gives players experiences to feel familiar yet fresh. It's an art style that bridges the past and the present, letting indie developers experiment with new ideas while nodding to gaming's roots. Pixel art proves that sometimes limitations aren't a barrier, they're the foundation. Pixel art may have started as a limitation, but today it's a choice. A choice that countless indie developers are making because of its charm, its flexibility, and its power to connect us to the heart of gaming. So next time you boot up a pixel art game, take a moment to appreciate the artistry in each and every pixel. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, consider subscribing for more deep dives into the art of game design. I'll see you in the next one.